nothing like a pretty much calm, cold air in the mountains to kind of give you perspective on life. Just to give you peace and tranquility. I want to make sure I'm recording. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're in. This is not a walkthrough. This is not a playthrough. This is the verdict video of Steep. I know it's early to post the verdict video when I haven't gone 100% on this game. Well, this game is leaving on August 31st, and if I don't finish 100%, I want to at least get the verdict video out so that way whoever wants to buy this or rent this, or let's just say it comes back to PlayStation Plus Essential one day, then you'll know what my impression of it is. Maybe it'll let you guys kind of get that, play this game before August 31st and kind of get your opinion on it. So, anyway, let's get this out of the way. Hey, let's give an acknowledgement and shout out to the new subscriber. Welcome to the new channel playlist. I hope you've been enjoying the video game content. As I tell the new or returning viewers or subscribers, my daily goal is to get up to 2,000 subscribers or more. If we get to that goal, I'm going to do something interesting. Not going to tell you guys yet, because that entices people to subscribe or to leave those likes. Anyway, let's get to the very video. I would talk about Gamescom Day 2, but there wasn't really a whole lot happening. It was just launch trailers. Game content that we saw on Day 1, we just saw extended gameplay, but it was more of like behind the scenes or interviews with the developers of what they're doing for their next game or new IP. That is essentially it. There really wasn't a whole lot of new trailers. It was really, that's it, behind the scenes or interviews with developers. There was nothing really to kind of deep dive in this Gamescom. So Day 1 was pretty great. I thought it was pretty great. Day 2, not so much. It was kind of I wouldn't say it was a letdown. It's just nothing special. Alright, so let's go to the verdict video. I mean, that's what you guys are here for. Alright, so I had practiced it, and I know what I'm going to give it. The score is going to be similar to The Crew 2. 8 out of 10. And I'll explain why. So, I'm going to give my clear and concise thoughts. So, for the new or returning viewers or subscribers, I like to go with the negative first. So that way, it just gets it out of the way and let you know that even though this game was, like, great, or if it was a 10 out of 10, there is still negative with basically a game I find flaws. If I can't find a negative with the game, like Dead Cells, I'm sorry, I can't find a flaw in Dead Cells, sue me. But if I can't find a flaw with a game, then that means the game is just so unique, did its job well to make me entertained or to get me invested. That's a really solid video game. Now, let's move on to the negative. One of the negative was the paragliding. It was boring, hard to maneuver. It was really, there was just no amount of challenge like the other activities. That was one major negative I had to address. The paragliding was just boring. It was hard to maneuver. It was no rewarding experience. It just dragged on. It bogged on. Unlike the other activities, which is pretty much going for arcadey fun, and it was just fun, paragliding was just, it was kind of like a walking simulator, but boring. And the walking simulators I played recently are more interesting than paragliding. That's saying something. You know what? If they do a Steep 2, which I feel like they wouldn't do, but what they could do with paragliding, I wish they'd kind of added checkpoints, like the pretty much rocket wingsuits, and some other fun activities more interesting than paragliding. If they added checkpoints, enough maneuvering, or just kind of like give us a freaking tornado and then have the paragliding be in the middle of that. If they did some interesting stuff, then I would have had fun with it. But just because we're just going to top a mountain, or I mean, there were some checkpoints. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there were some time racing or time trials for the paragliding. I imagine there was. Maybe there was. And if there was, then I had to camp myself, and that's my bad. But paragliding just was not a rewarding experience. I just felt bogged down, and it just kind of took down the game fun points down a peg. So that's kind of that. Another thing that was also, it's kind of part of the same vein. The mountain stories. As much as mountain stories were good for the setup, the pacing and the story for the mountain stories were just kind of a letdown too. It was just basically time trials or destroying objects, which were really hard to do on snowboarding or skiing. But the mountain stories were just kind of a like a letdown. They built them up, but they just didn't deliver on like fun activities, not like the other fun activities, which I'll mention. But yeah, I think it's a minor nitpick, but the mountain stories were just not worth it. And the last thing, and I'll make this one short, it's a minor nitpick. The character customization compared to, let's just say, Riders Republic and the Crew 2 was just not. It was kind of bland, or it wasn't. It doesn't motivate you. Unlike Riders Republic, which I haven't tried yet in terms of their character customization, but for the Crew 2, even though the upgrade systems for the vehicles were just kind of rudimentary, but the character customization and the character skins that you give your vehicles was actually addicting and pretty freaking fun. Steve, you got like GoPro skins and some other things, but nothing really interesting. I was kind of disappointed and not like utterly disappointed. I just wasn't impressed with the character customization. So that's pretty much it for the negative. Positive. All of the freaking activities are super fun. They were super fun. From the wingsuit to the rocket wingsuit to the snowboarding to skiing. There was probably more activities, but they're locked by DLC, so I can't do anything about. But all the activities, besides paragliding and the mountain source, were super fun. You just felt the exhilaration of being a freaking athlete in a winter wonderland. I cannot stress how fun the activities were. My favorite ones were obviously the wingsuit and the rocket wingsuit because, you know why? Challenging, fun, awesome to navigate, easy to navigate. It wasn't stressful to take these challenges, and you felt like a boss completing these activities because they were fun. They leaned into the arcadey feel, like what Crew 2 did, but it just went more arcadey. Rise Republic is still my favorite in terms of arcadey fun, and if I had to pick between the three, Rise Republic all the way. I'll explain why when I play more of that and give my verdict video. But this is about Steam. So yeah, the activities when it was regarding those four major activities, super fun. There we go. And second positive, it's the environment. The pretty much when you go up to the highest peak of whatever we're at, or wherever we're at, when we go to the highest peak, it's breathtakingly awesome. Kind of like case in point, it's very peaceful, and it's kind of a double positive. The environment is just so open world, and that's Ubisoft's specialty. So they kind of give them more money for open world, but it really works for this Winter Wonderland that I do not stress and I do not exaggerate about Winter Wonderland. It really is. When skiing, snowboarding, pretty much doing all the fun activities, it's such a treat and pretty much an eye candy just to look at the environment because there's a lot of attention to detail. It's calm and it's pretty to look at in the artistic and technical wise. And even when you're sliding from the highest mountain, when you're doing, breaking every bone in your body, if that's the activity, or if you're just kind of like trying to do like a time travel or score attacks, which I highly enjoy for all the fun activities, you can't deny going through the mountain view is just such a meditative experience. You just tune everything out, and it's so great. It's just really calming just to go through slide through the mountains when you're either flying or when you're using the snowboard or skiing. I really had to think of this positive, but yeah, the environment was very solid. I think Ubisoft, when they do environments like this, or Assassin's Creed, they really do solid open world environments. It's just so calming. I was gonna mention the light licensed music if it was going to be a positive, but it's not really a positive, so I couldn't really give it a positive because unlike Crew 2 and Rise Republic, I feel like those have the better licensed music. Steep was calm, but it feels like music you would hear in elevator music. Not negative, just nothing to write home about. Multiplayer is fun too. I only just did one session, and if I do later videos for Steep, then it'll be probably focused on multiplayer sessions. But yeah, playing with other people, even though it's not like the best, I think it was still competitive and it's a fun interactive experience with the multiplayer. It's just incorporating the fun, freaking activities that you love doing, besides paragliding and the mountain stories, and just incorporate it into pretty much the multiplayer. Pretty much the good crap is in the multiplayer, and that's a good thing. So yeah, solid multiplayer. Not the best, but fun. At least there was a multiplayer experience. Not like the Crew 2, because there's not really a lot of multiplayer of that, but that's... I already did that for early video, so let's move on. And you know what? This might be a short video, but the last positive I have was the gameplay. The gameplay is pretty solid. It's not like precise or very tight controls like the Crew 2 or Rise Republic, but I think the controls are really solid for this winter, let's just call it the winter side of Ubisoft, of sports. And I'll tell you why. Because it's so easy, there's an amount of challenge. It might not be the most balanced gameplay, but there's a sense of challenge whenever you're using a snowboard. And everything in terms of your activities, from the rocket wingsuits, the skis, and the snowboarding, it just feels integral to every activity you do. In other words, what I'm trying to say is all the equipment that you use, and when it's the fun activities, they are they're not just functional, but they're very fun to use. So it's easy to pull tricks off, but there's an amount of challenge for it. And this is not like a game made for beginners. This is a game that you master constantly. Like the wingsuit. My favorite one, the Gold Pro Challenge. I know I didn't talk or comment, I did a lot of commentary for that, but I felt like the challenges for the wingsuit, or just whenever we were just really trying to go for that hard level and all that, I think the gameplay matches the intensity of whatever is going on with these activities. The activities get crazy in this. So, I think that sums it up. I kept it short and sweet. I know I probably talked maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or maybe less. If it went over 10 minutes, sue me. I had a lot to talk about in Steam. But it wasn't my longest video. So, of course, you're going to smash that like, comment, or subscribe. So, like I was talking about in terms of the future schedule, the more the focus is going to be on is Chicory Colorful Tale. Hopefully we can finish that before the 19th. Watch Dogs 1, if I can't finish that, that's not a big deal. I have Watch Dogs 2, but maybe we'll try to get Watch Dogs 1 completed as much as we can. It's a long game. It's a Ubisoft game. That means I'm never beating it unless it's pretty much Assassin's Creed 1, which is not on PlayStation 5 until they remake it. But yeah, there's just no way I'm going to finish Watch Dogs 1. It's a big game. It's a big game. That's impossible. But yeah, one of the games that I want to focus on is Chicory Colorful Tale, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, and that other game I just mentioned, Watch Dogs. I would say Nidhogg 2, only if we can get the multiplayer to be functional and people are actually playing. If not, I can't do a lot on Nidhogg 2. I'll have to give a verdict video and sadly put it to bed, because there's just not a lot to do in Nidhogg 2 if no one's playing online, or if I can't get a local co-op person to play with me, aka my fiance. But yeah, I'll try to convince her. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. That's going to be focused on the games on September 19th, and if we don't have any important games leaving in October, then we'll try to finish the alphabetical orders from the L to all the way to Z, and then I'll give you an explanation of why I did it. and then we'll finally go back to an actual normal schedule. That's the plan. Gosh, I think I pretty much said what I needed to say. So, of course, everybody, have a good night and stay tuned.